Alright, so I feel like I am gonna talk about my next topic on my channel, and I think I figured it out. I think that I'm gonna address my overdose, and I think I'm gonna explain how it happened, and how it made me decide what I wanted to do, which was get sober finally. So to start, I guess, I had just gotten out of jail. I was living in a sober living house, and I left, like an idiot for reasons I just don't want to talk about. And I came back to my hometown, which was like the worst idea ever. And then, I started smoking meth a little bit, like a few times, and I started drinking. And I thought, it's not a big deal because, at the time, meth wasn't my problem. It was dope. Okay. Any drug is my problem. I just wasn't ready to get clean. I had been forcefully put back into jail, and, it wasn't on my own terms. So, here I am. It's the middle of August. I've been running around for a week, but I wasn't using the whole time. I just wasn't in a safe place, which finally led to my relapse. And so I finally got sick and tired of where I was at. I was by myself, and the person I was with, they were just gone for hours and hours and hours, so I just went back to my hometown because I was a couple towns over. And I met up with one of my friends, and I had met up with him on a beach, and there was drugs, there was some dope, and I did a little bit of dope, and I ended up overdosing on the beach at a picnic table. And the kid I was with, he ran off, didn't call 911, he just took off. And I got really lucky because there's a WOW trail, there's a walking trail, and these older people were walking their dog, and they just so happened to find my body on the picnic table because they'd seen the kid running away. And they came over, and the older gentleman, when he came over, I guess he saw that I was already blue, and it had only been a couple minutes. And he couldn't manage to lift me up, and the older gentleman sat me up and tried to give me CPR sitting up, and that was really hard to hear when I woke up, but I didn't know this at this point, obviously. He called 911, and the EMTs ended up coming, the cops, and I ended up getting road burn, road rash, all right here and all right here, because I had to drag my face across the gravel and half the pavement area, because I was just so stiff that they needed to, put me on my back to give me CPR. And so the cop helped him do that, and they gave me CPR for about 10 minutes until the EMT showed up. The EMTs then started giving me CPR, and they administered 10 Narcan on me. 10 different Narcans on me, and that's crazy to think about. Anytime I've ever been near an overdose, I've only had to give people one, maybe 2 max. So 10, that means I was really gone. The ambulance said, the guys on the ambulance, the EMTs, said that I woke up briefly, just enough to say my name. I do not remember doing that. And then finally, when I woke up in the hospital, I was like, what the hell's going on? Where am I? I was getting a chest x-ray. I had the EKG things all up and down my body. And, they just briefly explained to me I overdosed. I asked if I was suicidal, if I did it on purpose, or if it was accidental. And I said, obviously, it was accidental. I didn't even realize I had overdosed. And, so I'm at the hospital, and I have a decision to make, when I'm awake. It took a couple hours, I was in there for 10 hours. Just resting up, and they were putting IV liquids in me and making sure I was okay. But when I finally woke up and had enough energy, I had a decision to make. I could either call one of my friends, one of my using friends, and I could go to their house and I could continue to use, or I could call my cousin and go to her house, who will hold me accountable and keep me sober until I can get the help that I need. And I finally swallowed my pride, and I talked to my husband. My husband had called. He had called a few times, while I was overdosed, and I obviously didn't answer. So when I finally answered, he's like, "Are you okay? What happened?" And he's like, "I knew something was wrong. You always answer your phone. What happened?" So I told him what happened, and this is kind of what fueled my decision. He was like, my husband is in love with me, you know what I mean? He's kind of like overline obsessive sometimes, but he was just like, you know, if you're going to continue to do this, I'm going to have to love you from afar. And for me, like, that hurt, you know, that really hurt. We've been through so much, so for him to finally be like, I'm going to have to love you from afar, I'm not going to call you anymore, you know, I'll ask my mom if she's seen you or how you're doing. And that hurt because, you know, he's incarcerated right now. So, like, that's the only way that I can contact him. And I think not talking to him would hurt me more than, you know, than anything. So, you know, we talked for like 15 minutes. He told me that he was happy I was okay. But then he had to go. You know, he was upset. He didn't want to say anything stupid. So he just hung up on me. And at that moment, the doctor came in and was like, so do you have anywhere sober to go? Like, do you need us to admit you for the night until we can find you somewhere to go? And I was like, can you guys just give me a few minutes? Like, I'm going to try to call my cousin. Yep, okay, that's fine. So they leave the room and I call my cousin. And she's like, Jossie, what's up? Because my whole family calls me Jossie from growing up. But she's like, Jossie, what's up? And I was like, listen, I have something to tell you. She's like, I fucking knew it. I had a pit in my stomach. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just crazy. And I just said, I'm not going to explain it right now. I just need you to pick me up. So when she came to pick me up, she texted me and said, listen, the nurse needs, you're okay, to tell me what happened. So I said, okay, you know what I mean? I told the nurse, like, she can tell her. And the nurse had explained to my cousin exactly what had happened. I didn't even know what had happened at this point. Like, I was still clueless. I just knew that I had overdosed and that I woke up in the hospital. So I get discharged, and I go to my cousin's house, and, you know, she's helping me, taking care of me, and, you know, helps me get in the shower, because I had all this dirt and shit all in my body, like, all in my bra, like, in my clothes, because, like, obviously I was dragged on the ground, you know, and then I was, like, she was explaining to me when I got out of the shower about what had happened, like, what actually had gone down with the Narcan, with the elderly couple, with, you know, with my friend running away. And it was literally at that moment, she was like, listen, what are you going to do? And at first I was like, well, you know, I want to go to an inpatient rehab, but if I can't get into one, I'll do IOP in the meantime. And she just blatantly looked at me and was like, IOP is not enough for you. Like, I love you, and I'm not trying to be rude, but IOP is not enough. And I had to agree with her because I know it's not enough. It's on Zoom right now. They can't hold me accountable for anything. You know, I've been in IOP a few times, so people were like, oh yeah, I relapsed, and guess what? They just ask you to process what happened and why it led to that. You know, so I knew IOP wasn't gonna cut it. So that next morning, it was a Monday morning, me and my cousin, I woke up, me and my cousin, we called Navigate Recovery, which is like a local, you know, recovery place around here. And we were just like, you know, like, I had her talking for me because I just was like so sick still. I didn't even want to, like, I was just still fucked up, like, not on drugs, but like my body hurt, like they had ripped me, you know what I mean? So my ribs hurt from the chest compressions, like my legs had hurt, my ankles were hurting, my wrists were hurting because they had to yank me when my body was stiff. And it just, you know, I was just in so much pain I didn't even want to get up, really. So she was on the phone, like, speaking for me, like, you know, da-da-da. And the woman who actually I've known for a while that works at Navigate, she was just like, so what's going on, you know, blah, blah, blah. And we had just briefly, she briefly explained to her what had happened with my overdose. And, you know, she was just like, well, I'm happy you're still here, and I'm happy you're deciding to get help. And then after that, I ended up going back to rehab. They got me in the next day, so I only had to wait one day at my cousin's house, and the next morning I was on my way to Antrim, House for Women rehab, and it was my second time there. This time was willing. The first time I was PR bailed to the rehab, so it was like I really didn't want to go, but I did, you know, just to get out of jail. And I went back to this rehab, and this time I really took it serious. This time I put in my work. This time I paid attention during class. You know, I really expressed my artistic side. I painted things, I made bracelets, like, but I also paid attention in groups, which is something I didn't do last time. And I actually shared during meetings, which is also something I didn't do. You know, so I was really comfortable in my sobriety at that point. But it was at that rehab that I realized, like, out of all of my excessive years of use, that overdose was my rock bottom. Like, I thought, like, going to jail was my rock bottom, but I had never felt it in my gut. The overdose is what I felt in my gut. That was my rock bottom. That was my change. Like, you know, yeah, I still get urges like I want to use. Yeah, you know, I still sometimes wish that I was still using, but that's just the addict side of my mind talking. I don't actually want to use. You know, but that was my absolute rock bottom. You know, there's no turning back to that life. And, you know, it was just crazy for me to think, like, I had to go through that to get to where I'm at, you know what I mean? And I'm coming up on 2 months sober. You know, it might not be an accomplishment to most people who are sober and don't understand, but to me, 2 months sober on my own without being in jail, that is the longest I've ever stayed clean without being locked up. So I have to, like, you know, mentally pat myself on the back for this, because those stupid little chips that everybody thinks is so stupid, that's worth more than anything else in my life, pretty much. Sometimes I have my 30-day chip taped on my wall because it just meant that much to me, you know. I just felt like, you know, this needed to be said, because there's people out there who have overdosed who have not made it back, and tons of them that I've been friends with or family with. You know, so I'm just lucky that, you know, I had no pulse for 7 minutes and they put a trach in my throat that night. I'm just lucky that I can still be here to tell my story, to get it across to people that don't understand the difficult times that some addicts have. I have a feeling that there was a reason why God brought me back, or, you know, you're my higher power as I understand him. But I feel like it, you know, there was a reason for that. Like, if I didn't wake up, my kids wouldn't have a mother. You know, my family wouldn't have a daughter, a granddaughter, a sister, an aunt. So I just felt like I needed to share that story. You know, I'm trying to make it so, like, it's about recovery, but I feel like people out there need to know who I am, what I've been through too as well, because I know that for me, a lot of other people's stories relate to me, like I said in my first video. You know, like 90% of people I hear at meetings, like, oh shit, we've had the same motherfucking story, like, how did we not know each other? You know, so it's like, if I can just reach out and touch one person, like, that's good enough for me. I don't care if it's any more than one. As long as one person hears my message and hears what I have to say and understands and can, like, text me or message me and get a hold of me, and, you know, I can help them through a hard day so that they don't have to go through what I went through, that's all that matters to me. And I'm sure that's all that matters to any other person in recovery too. You know, it's getting kind of cold though, so I am going to go inside, but I just wanted to, you know, touch base today and let you guys know that part of my story. I think that the next video might also be about something in my story. It's going to be about my son Nicholas, that I didn't mention because I want to do a whole video on Nicholas first, because he's the only child that I had while in active addiction. So, you know, I feel like he deserves his own little column. I mean, Macy does too. My daughter Macy deserves her own little video too, but I was sober when I had her, and you know, she didn't have to start dealing with the negative effects of my addiction until she was almost 4 years old, like 2 weeks before she was 4. So, you know, I think that's going to be my next video. I should be posting it in a few days. I just want to make it first and see, you know, how it's going to come out. But I just want to say thank you for listening, and I hope that, you know, everybody can stay safe and stay sober one day at a time. And just remember, don't get fucked up.